Today we're going to be talking about the aging services solution, some of the pain points that we come across when we're dealing with aging services agencies are the flexibility of different software solutions, outdated software that's 20 years old, that hasn't really conformed to the new needs in the ever-changing world of aging services regulations. Insecure data, limited coordination and care, so a disconnect between different agencies, and hopefully we can bridge that gap. So we are envisioning a solution that really ties all of these things that have traditionally been gaps in this sector into one area so that we can be a solution for all of the years to come. So with CaseWorthy and ServTracker, we imagine having your data all in one place, rolling it back up into one aggregated system so that you can report back to your funders easily, be able to engage with your communities and other providers easily and efficiently in your system, have that overarching view of your case management so that you can provide the most comprehensive care possible, and sustainable growth with the flexibility of software that's not going to be outdated or no longer apply to you just because regulations change or internal policies at your particular organization have changed. How do we do that? Well, we have done that by combining the ServTracker functionality and the CaseWorthy functionality to combine and have an intuitive, integrated solution all the way from the state unit on aging level to the area agencies on aging, right down to your direct service providers. And so we will go ahead and jump right into the demonstration portion of today's webinar here, because that's where all the fun stuff is. Let's make sure that we've got the right screen share here. Can you see my CaseWorthy system, Sydney?
Not yet. Oh, there we are. Got it.
All right, awesome. Do we have anything in the Q&A chat so far?
Not so far.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to wear a couple of different hats today as we go through the different systems. So right now I'm going to pretend to be that state unit on aging. And what you might be doing at that level is referring down to your area agency providers. You may provide some services to clients, and it tends to vary by state. And then there are some universal things that are just universal across all of the states and due to the federal regulations. So if I am a state unit on aging, I'm wearing my state unit on aging hat here, I might go through an intake when I'm entering a new client. So we will start there with an intake. I always find that making up fake names is the hardest part of any demonstration. Let's call him Mitchell. You may notice that there are some required fields here. You as the administrator have the ability to decide what is and is not required during your intake and other assessments and forms within the system. All right. It's going to force a duplicate check for me here. It's a new system, new client to our system here. Veteran status. We're going to capture his home address with that Google integration and verify his address. Enter that contact information so that we can send him reminders and updates or call him for follow-ups. On this next slide here in this workflow, I can add a family member if I need to, including their contact information. I can record things under their profiles as well. That'll also make me check for duplicates. If you do ever bypass the duplicate check and maybe there was a last name way off on spelling, there is a merge functionality. So if you do come across that, don't worry, you'll be able to put those profiles together on the back end. Now I'm going to go ahead and enroll him in a program and decide, who is his provider? Do I need to refer to one of the AAAs from this state unit on aging agency? Or do I have other providers that I want to assign him to? I can do that right from this workflow. Can assign a case manager or schedule follow-ups as well. Now, based on the enrollment that I enrolled this client in, it's going to populate different assessments. So it's got a senior services assessment here. It's going to allow me to enter his annual income, and you can collect that information over time and get aggregated data in bar charts, line graphs, so that you can have a comprehensive overlook of what's going on with that client. Many applicable different questions here, like Medicare. And again, everything that you see here is tailorable to your organization's needs. I've got a nutrition health assessment. So am I always able to physically shop and cook for myself? Maybe yes. And you'll notice that on the scoring level, it will add up the totals of my score based on what I set up as the administrator. So when I set up this assessment, I indicated that 1 is going to equal yes. So it's going to sum up all of my answers where I say yes. It'll take me right into my ADLs. So if I need to mark down his bathing, eating, toileting, transferring, I can go ahead and mark, does he need help? Does he not need help? And these are just a few options. You may or may not need those in your intake assessment. It may be something that your state unit on aging does not do, and maybe that's something they do at the AAA level, or maybe they do that at the direct provider level. You can do that at any level and then roll it back up for reporting purposes. Next in this workflow, it's going to allow me to go ahead and capture a case note here. I can voice to text, assign a type for good sorting and reporting purposes. And then additionally, I can use templates. And templates are super easy to create in CaseWorthy, very flexible system here. So if I click on call log, it's got a couple of template options that were designated as I set up as the administrator, right? Or I can manually enter that message here. Additionally, on this form, I can add signatures and I can add multiple. So it can be your client signing here. Maybe it's an agreement that was a template. Maybe you need your staff to sign here. So you can have signatures that are typed right in and tie it right into your program. Go ahead and save. All right. Now, I've entered all of my demographic information. I've collected some of those assessments that I may or may not need in the SUA, the State Unit on Aging level. So here I can go ahead and say, what service are we going to go ahead and refer this client for? Today I'm going to choose counseling. We'll do case management. And how often do I want them to have case management or counseling? I can go ahead and put in my desired units, where I want to refer them to, what funding source do I want? So I'm going to select waiver, the provider that I'm referring to, or my AAA, or direct service providers, whatever is applicable in your case. And then I can do a weekly count. So maybe I want them to have Mondays, a unit once a week, and it's displaying these different days and the options for units based on the frequency I selected here. So maybe I needed it to be monthly or just each, so as a PRN as needed kind of deal. But I selected weekly by Monday. So it's allowing me to say, what days of the week do we need that client have that service, and how many times does he need that service? I can also go ahead and notate against that service request as well. So I am going to go ahead and finish up that referral and that intake for that client. And now at the State Unit on Aging level, I'm going to go ahead and pass that on to my area agency. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my agency hat. Sometimes it can be a little confusing when the one person doing the demo is playing multiple roles. So I want to make that distinction there. So now I'm going to go back in and be the AAA advocate or the AAA. If I need to go in and go to this client's profile, I can go in and record services on that profile. I can see the referrals that were sent over. I want to skip that step. So I can go and see who was referred to me here on the referral status. So Michael Jordan was referred. He wants case management. He needs some counseling. And I can go in and look at the details there and how many units. So once he's been approved for services, I can go over to his profile and render those services against that referral. And now as I enter those services, I can case note directly against the service that I'm entering. And as the administrator, I can designate what the units should be, if they are supposed to have a certain cost associated with them, things like that. Additionally, I'll be able to see the assessments that were collected during the intake. So if I had collected that senior services assessment, it'll upload here and I can take a look at all of the data that was entered for that client. Additionally, I can find his families and contact dashboard where I can locate any of the information that I need for that client. Relevant to senior services, you can also record client alerts as well. So if I need to say, please confirm service cancellation with family, and designate different alerts like that so that they populate on that client's profile, I can do that as well. And here it'll show me that client alert. So I can go in and I can update those demographics as needed. I can find any of the forms that I collected during the intake. I can adjust and find those all on my dashboard or all on the left-hand navigation items. And additionally, we talked a little bit about the flexibility of the forms in the system. And so just to give you a glimpse of what it looks like at the administrator level, if you have outgrown your demographics form or you've outgrown an assessment or a workflow, you have the ability to go into your app builders and say, you know, we don't need marital status to be required anymore. And you can just uncheck the required. Or maybe you need to remove something altogether. You can delete that directly from the form. Or maybe you need to add a new question. So you can drag and drop and add different questions as needed. Now, if I'm in this client's profile, I'm the AAA servicer, but I think that they're a great candidate for home delivered meals. Maybe I need to go ahead and refer them to a direct service provider. So I can come to my referrals tab here and say, I think he's a good candidate for home delivered meals. I'm going to go ahead and associate that with the home delivered meals program. And let's say maybe 3 meals a week. We'll do associate with our funding for Title III. And how often should they get meals? Well, let's say Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday lunch. We know this particular direct provider only provides lunch. Okay, so now I can save that and it'll send that referral over to our direct service provider that we selected. That direct service provider operates directly out of ServTracker, which is an integrated solution with CaseWorthy. So now when I go into ServTracker, I can now pick up that client and start right where the area agency left off. When I receive that referral, I will get an email on my dashboard as the user that there's been a new referral, and it will also create a task that I can find in the top right-hand corner. So I'm going to go ahead and find a client here in ServTracker. And go to his home delivered meals. Now, when I receive this referral, it'll come in and it'll say, go ahead and approve your service plan that was sent over from CaseWorthy here. And then on this same intake, we can manage our different routes. We can auto route, and some of these things will be set up on your administration tab within the ServTracker setup. Additionally, you can now as a direct service provider, enter any notes that you need to enter. You can suspend services if they are having a long stay in the hospital or a rehab. You can put them on hold, and any notes regarding their diet, things of that nature. Now, once I have my services in ServTracker and I've gotten those referrals, I can post those service units, send it to my kitchen, get my kitchen sheet for the day, and then send it over to my delivery drivers, who will then be able to service their home delivered meals via app and mark delivered, undelivered, things like of that nature. Any questions in the Q&A so far?
You're all clear?
Okay. So that's just a glimpse into the ServTracker side of it. You do have reporting at every level, so you can get your reports at the direct service provider level with your standard reports out of ServTracker. Some of our common are a cumulative monthly, which many of you may be familiar with if you're already a ServTracker customer. We'll just use all parameters so we can get a good look. So at the direct service provider level, you can get your reports at that level. You can get your reports at the area agency level. You can export these and send them however you need them. Within the CaseWorthy system, you can go to your reports tab, and we've got a lot of out-of-the-box reports there as well. So individually as the AAA or the State Unit on Aging, you can pull your reports like your clients and programs, how many services they received. I'm going to leave all of the parameters off so that we pull in some good data. So you have all of these out-of-the-box reporting levels, but additionally, you are aggregating data from ServTracker and from CaseWorthy to combine and be able to manipulate that data with your Power BI tools. And so there's an area agency data pack that you'll receive. And it looks similar to this, but it'll give you all of the things that you need so that you can do your OOPS reporting and any other reporting types that you need so that you can aggregate that data and give it back to your funders. Those are the biggest items that I had on my list for the webinar today. Are there any questions that I can field here and answer while we're all gathered together?
Just give our attendees a minute in case, but no questions so far.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead and drop our emails in the chat. Just in case you think of anything later, or you want to jump on an additional call and ask any of your questions. We would love to chat with you. And we will catch you next time on our next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Lindsay.